Thank you for listening to another episode of the Business of Fun podcast. I believe this is number 217, 218, something like that. We have been here since 2018. Thank you for being here today. First time I've had a chance to talk to you in 2025, so Happy New Year. Once and only time. I've gone well past my sell-by date of like the 3rd of January, but for you, I'll do it. My guest today is Stephen Burchard. He's the owner of Magical Memories Entertainment, and we had a great time chatting. I'm going to talk about Stephen in just a moment. Before I do, how were your holidays? How is the new year starting for you? Send me a note. My name is Dave at davewegman.com. Let me know what you want to learn, who you want to hear from, some of your goals and ideas. Anything you want to do, just drop me a note, say hello. I get them, I read them, and I thank you for them. I want to point you to my websites, davewegman.com, where you can get sign up for my newsletters, the Business of Fun and Talking Tickets, or you can go to businessofFun.substack.com or talkingtickets.substack.com and join those individually, or go to the website, sign up in the little drop box, and you'll get both of them. It's great. We have a Talking Tickets Slack channel that you can join as well. I will put the link in the show notes. Few things coming up in the new year. I will be heading to Indianapolis for a event in April. I'm locking down the dates right now. By the next episode, I will have it hopefully mapped out. But I'm looking to go and do some workshops this year. So if you have any interest of bringing me to your town, Dave at davewegman.com, and let's talk about it. So Stephen Burchard. Stephen is the owner, as I said, of Magical Memories Entertainment. And we talked about his passion for creating connections with people. He feels like he is the right person, a specialist of bringing people together and creating memories. So we talked about the power of building those relationships. We talked about his passion and how passion drives success in entertainment. We talked about change and opportunity, innovation. We hit on how he develops his business. We talked about a really cool thing that he did with the Green Bay Packers. We talked about some of the crazy experiences he's created. We talked about really unique things like being a DJ at Oktoberfest at Fort Knox, doing an event at Guantanamo Bay. We talked about how Stephen creates events, and that he doesn't have to be the center of attention because he works with people all over the place to make sure that everything works out for people. One of the interesting things I think is really relevant to a lot of people is Stephen talks about what happened with COVID and how he went from thousands of events and hundreds of events to nothing, and what he did to keep his business going. We talked about how quickly he was able to come back, and how out of that crisis was kind of this next evolution of the business. We talked about how the business keeps growing. We talked about the power of his brand. He likes to talk about how he owns a smile factory, which I thought was a really cool way of putting things together. Stephen was great. I have had this one. We did it a few right before the holidays, and I wanted to save it because I thought this was a really good episode to kick off New Year. So 2025, we'll start with my conversation with Stephen Burchard on the Business of Fun podcast. All right, I would like to welcome Stephen. Burr as in cold, shard as in glass. Stephen Burchard to the Business of Fun podcast. Stephen, man, how are you?
I am very well. Thank you for having me today.
Yeah, this is great. So Magical Memories Entertainment, you are the owner. I have had the chance to check you out a little bit the last couple days as I was preparing for this, because as a true professional, I make notes. And one of the things that I was really impressed by was like the amount of creativity that goes into the events that you put together. Where I want to start, though, talking to you today, our conversation is I want to start with you because and we're going to get into some of these things that you've done because there's some really cool stuff, examples that you have. But the thing that was impressive to me, and then I want to start introducing you to my audience with, is the idea that you're creating these memories, these events, these experiences for people. Each of them are unique. I want to start there. Like, how does this work? Because I often tell, and to give you a foundation, I'm always telling people, like, going, my idea of what's going to be awesome or valuable or great
Mm-hmm.
might be a bad idea. It might not, my opinion might be awful. It might suck. And you have to listen to the person you're serving.
Sure.
So I'm curious to hear from you how you bring these things to life, and how does it start?
Sure. So just to go back a little bit, I want to just kind of tell everybody what Magical Memories is. So Magical Memories is a nationwide event entertainment company, which means that we have a national network of entertainers who are locally based across the country that service all of our clients. So what we do is, as you said, we create these experiences, we deliver these experiences that our clients are looking for. And what's cool about what we do, and to your question, is that our job is to kind of translate what the client's vision is into an actual deliverable. So if a client is looking for a winter wonderland themed event for their corporate event, or bar mitzvah or wedding or whatever the event is, that they have this vision of a certain thing, they might not know what possibilities there are for that thing. So this is an opportunity for us to actually be able to recommend things and to help them craft these ideas. And to the point of being regionally based is that if we have a client that's like, oh my God, I love this one idea and it's only available in New York, but they want to fly us in, great, we can make that happen. But if they're like, hey, the client doesn't have a budget to fly somebody in, we have different experiences or specific experiences that we can craft to fulfill their vision with the talent that is locally based, which is kind of a unique thing to how we operate as an organization.
All right. So going from there, then, specific experiences, unique experiences, a nationwide network. Let's go back to the question now. Then, so like, how does this start? Like, what is the conversation when somebody comes to you about this? Like, what does it look like?
I mean, generally when clients come to us, they come in one of, I guess, three ways. We have, our website is very robust. We have a plethora of information and photos and videos and services that we offer, and ideas that we have done on our website. And we've done that. We've created this website that's really robust to allow clients to go on there and either spark ideas from services that we offer. We're in the process of launching even new parts of the website, whether it be services based, whether it be theme based, whether it's event based, where somebody can go on there, they can spark an idea and can kind of go down that rabbit hole. So that's one way of kind of coming to us. So they come to us either with one, like in the beginning, they come with 1-2 ideas. They either come to us with the idea of, hey, I have this kind of an event with this theme, what can we do? That's number one. They come to us saying, hey, I need this particular type of service. This is what I'm looking for. And they're very specific to that. And we can build upon that. We can give them other ideas. We can work with them to facilitate that one experience, that whatever it is. So those are two of the ways they come to us. And then the third way is we actually do a lot of outbound outreach to to potential clients and people in industries that we operate a lot in, saying, hey, we work with other people in similar industries. We think this would align with what you're looking for as well. So that's kind of the three silos in which we start this conversation.
All right. So one of the ways that you said was like people come to you and they'll have like kind of an idea, right? And one of the things I found really interesting was some of the different events. And I don't want to spoil anything for anybody by telling you what I like the most of. Again, my idea might be bad. What are like some of the, one or two of the more interesting ideas people have brought to you? And then I'll ask you like, how you develop some of the more, I don't even want to call them exotic or crazy. They just are kind of, some of them are just amazing, like awesome. But, like what are some of the crazy ones that people have brought to you?
It's funny you asked that question because I think what I think is crazy, and to your kind of notion of what you think isn't necessarily what other people think. To your point is I think some of the more unique things are we have a client that just reached out to us, and you don't even know about this. We didn't talk about this before, but I had a client that's like, hey, we want to do something absolutely crazy, the craziest thing we've ever done. It's a huge client. They want to do something amazing, and I don't know. 10 years ago, met somebody who does a Tesla coil show. So a Tesla coil, if you remember in science class, it's a thing where you touched it and lightning strikes out of it and looks kind of cool. They have like a 20-foot one, and they do like a lightning show, and they're coming out of Vegas, and they have this entirely crazy thing. I find that crazy, but most times when I'm talking to clients and I'm like, hey, we're going to do a fire show, and for me, I know fire performers around the country. I book fire shows all the time, so fire for me is not that amazing. It's not that it's not amazing, but it's a common thing that I know is a very common thing. But anybody I mentioned, hey, let's do fire at your wedding, they're like, that's so cool, never heard of it before. So I mean, some of the fun things to your actual questions, what are some of the fun things we've done? I mean, I had a passion. I've actually had been blessed with the opportunity to perform for the Green Bay Packers for their opening day a couple of times, or their family day, or the family day event, not opening day, but family day event. And we did a bubble experience for them where I was making I went out there myself. I was making giant bubbles. I was standing on stilts, making giant bubbles, having the kids make giant bubbles, shooting out bubbles across the entire field. It was just a really cool experience, and I've actually, since I was a kid, that was my favorite team, so I was able to actually perform for them, which was, I think that was a highlight in my career. So doing things like that. I mean, I've been also blessed to do events for the military. So through connections I've made and through partnerships I've had, I was brought in to DJ for Fort Knox this past Oktoberfest. I DJ'd. I have a whole mix of German music that I was able to DJ for them, and I've done a couple other military bases. And probably one of the coolest ones, the one that amazes everybody, and I think this is your favorite one, if I'm going to guess it, was working at Guantanamo Bay. So I did perform myself and two of the performers I work with. We went down and performed a carnival themed event for the soldiers down in Guantanamo Bay on 4th of July. That was probably a highlight of all of them.
Yeah, no, that was probably the one that caught my eye the most as well. You kind of you read me pretty cleanly on that one. All right, so those are like, and I meant crazy too, in like the best possible way, not in like oh my god wacky. I thought it was like in crazy and like wild, like this is going to be amazing kind of way. So I'm glad you took it that way. Now one of the things that I was also very curious about is that you, when we were talking before we started recording, you were talking about how important the relationships are in the in designing these events, because the relationship plays out in a couple different ways. Number one, you have this network of people all over the country, so you can do all of these unique events that you are able to pull together. And then the other part of the relationship is the relationship with the people who are actually having the event created for them. And you understand the power of building these relationships as a and I would describe it as kind of like a bridge between people, and it pulls them together, and it makes I'm going to sound really cheesy saying this, but it makes it a little bit magical to steal from your name. How do you walk me through how you think about the relationship process and how it kind of plays out in your business and in your career? Because Green Bay Packers, Guantanamo Bay, Fort Knox, Las Vegas with the Tesla coil. These things don't happen by accident.
Mm-hmm. So, I mean, relationships, everything. I think, my business wouldn't exist without the people that I work with. I am only a mere director of this. Somebody told me a long time ago at an event, you're like the GM of entertainment. I like to think of myself as that person that helps to coordinate and facilitate these amazing experiences. And the biggest part of that is the idea that I like to connect the right performers with the right types of events. And you'll talk to some performers out there that are like, I can do everything for everybody. I can do a magic show for this group and that group and this group and that group. And some performers are very varied and can do a lot, but nobody specializes in everything. So what I did when I started my company is I decided to connect with specialists in as many different services and many different event types as possible. So that way, when a client comes to us, they can entrust us whether, and this could be like an event planner, this could be a venue, this could be a country club, this could be a school, whatever it is, they can come to us and say, hey, I have a member event for seniors. Great. Let's bring in the right person who understands that group. And then, okay, now the next week we have a teenagers, we want to do a dance party. Well, that's the person that just performed for the seniors is definitely not going to be the right person for that second event. So, but they can still come to us and we will still be able to facilitate and get that. Now, how do I make these connections? It's being open to connections. Always being open to connections. I mean, this alone is a great example of that. Always being open to having a conversation and being able to get to know somebody, because you never know what somebody's interests and passions are. A venue owner I know, who I met when I was just starting in this industry, said something to me, and I've always tried to live by this mantra. God gave us 2 ears and one mouth. You should listen twice as much as you speak. So I love that idea, and it's true. If you're always open and you're always listening to the conversations more than you're trying to sell yourself and be out there, you get two things. One, you learn about people, and it allows you to understand how we can work together better. And then two to that is you're then able to listen to opportunities and see where that next opportunity lies. And that's kind of on both sides of what I do is I meet with amazing performers on a regular basis. I learn about what they do because there's so many talented people out there. There are thousands and thousands of talented performers out there that most of the time people only see them in one silo. And this happens to us a lot, where if you see us at an event and we're doing a magic show, some people are like, they do magic shows. That's all they do. Never did anything else. But we obviously offer so many different experiences. And most performers kind of fall in line with that. Personally, I mean, that happens to me. I started as a magician when I was, 8 years old, I think it was. So when I was 8 years old, I started performing magic, and that's how I got into this entertainment world, as performing magic, and I built the company up from there. But like as I progressed along, I learned how to DJ. I mentioned I still walked. I do bubble shows. I can deal blackjack. I can bring in photo booths. I can do airbrush tattoos. I can do all these different cool experiences. I've even learned like a science show. I put on a science show. So like I have all these cool experiences that I have learned over the time. But once again, if someone sees me, they only see me in that one silo. And now, that being said as well, I don't specialize in DJing for every event. I don't specialize in doing magic shows for every kind of event. I know what I'm good at, and I do those things, and I do them well. And time somebody asks me for anything else, I bring in the right person. And that's why I created the company. That's why I do this kind of thing, is connecting people that have a passion for what they do. And the more passionate they are about what they do, the better they're going to deliver that product to that client. So it's a no-brainer. For me, I think it's a no-brainer to only bring in the person who believes and loves what they do and what they're doing, because they're going to do that job so much better than any other person that's like, oh, well, I can do that kind of an event if I have to, which unfortunately sometimes happens. I mean, and I think that happens in every industry and everything. There's the marketer that loves to do social media, but is forced to do, Google ads. So they don't love it, but then they're not passionate about it. They're not going to put as much effort into it. They're not going to do as, at least they're not going to put all their emotion into it. But if you give them what they do and you put them on something that they love to do, copywriters, like all this stuff in any industry you go into, if you put a team member, we could talk about like building teams and stuff like that. But if you put a team member into the lane in which they're passionate about, they're going to deliver 110% because they like what they're doing. if you force them to do something different, they're never going to deliver the job that you want them to do. So that's really what I built this idea on, is I'm not the best at everything, but I want to put the best person into the right place so that they can succeed and the end client can get the best experience possible.
Yeah, so what you've uncovered is that I'm not really a good performer, except for on a podcast. So I just help people sell these things. But it makes complete sense to me because, like, everybody has a certain few core competencies, which are things they do better than other things. And if you can do more of that thing, then you're going to be more successful in theory. I mean, sometimes that doesn't work. But I don't want to skip over this because you said you started out as a magician at age 8. And is that your first business?
So no. So interestingly enough, when I was in elementary school, so it's pre 8 years old, I guess it was. Yeah, it must have been. So so my family always treated me. We were always comfortable, but we were not ever wealthy by any means. So when I was a kid, I was the kid that brought a bagged lunch to school, that my parents would give me the lunch when we go in, and we would never get like extra money to buy like the pizzas or the milks or ice creams or anything like that. So I was always jealous of the kids that had that. So one day I was at we were getting our pictures taken for like our pool pass to go into the town pool, and I saw a bunch of bumper stickers they were giving away at the town. They were Dare bumper stickers, and I think universally everybody knows what that is. So the Dare bumper stickers. So I grabbed a couple of those. I brought them to school, showed the kids. It's like, oh, these are cool, right? And everybody's like, oh, I want one, right? They're excited, and that's really where it sparked it. I was like, I'll give it to you for 25 cents. and it happened. And then I somehow figured out a way to get my mom to bring me back to the town to grab a couple more. And they had a different kind. So then the ones that were white now are 50 cents. And that was the start of this entrepreneurial journey where I realized there was an opportunity, like I said, being aware of an opportunity. And I saw an opportunity to sell these bumper stickers. I got my feet wet with that. It didn't last long, I'll be honest. The teachers caught on quick, but it was the kind of the foundation of how this is. And ever since then, I sold candy for all the clubs when we were in high school for like fundraisers and all these things. And that was really the foundation of me seeing opportunity and seeing the benefits of working hard to do that. That's really where it all kind of started.
Oh yeah, I mean I have many similar stories. Like I sold Coca-Colas at the high school football game when I was like 10 or 11, and then when in high school I had a auto detailing business, and I was like at 16 I had a contract with the Florida Lottery and I had employees. I was like, this is amazing.
Wow.
That so it was pretty good. So I appreciate these things. And what you talk about here is though being aware of an opportunity. And one thing I've been curious to ask people of, because I know that we are what people would consider past COVID, but I feel that we probably are still having lingering effects and impacts from it that we probably like subconsciously are aware of, but consciously we push down from. And so what I'm trying to ask people when I think of it, and I just thought of it because you're talking about being aware of opportunities. What are some of the lessons that you and your business learned during that period? Because I would imagine it probably was impactful on you.
For sure. I mean, as you can imagine, the events industry was extremely, extremely impacted by the pandemic. We went from having hundreds and hundreds of shows that year to having no shows that year. We came out of one of our biggest conferences. So we go to a lot of conferences. I actually just flew back from a conference that we were expoing at. We had our company set up, and that's part of making connections, going out there and meeting people in person. So we were actually at a conference in person talking to people. And at the conference we just came back from, we were coming into our busier season, and we're like, okay, it's going to be a great year, blah, blah, blah. And all of a sudden at the conference, actually, it's funny. So at the conference, the gentleman that I was with looks up at the TV and he sees that the NBA has canceled their season. He's like, this is going to be a big thing. So all of a sudden they get back, the whole world shuts down, and we're like, what are we going to do? But I looked at it, and I actually had just come out of doing a 365 days of magic. So I had taken, I made a challenge for myself about a year before that every single day I'm going to post a video on Instagram of me performing magic. So I took that and I was like, well, I'm used to doing virtual stuff like that. I think I could do a virtual show. And within, I think, a week of the world shutting down, we started doing virtual shows on Facebook and on YouTube Live, and we started showcasing the talent we had on these platforms and not charging anybody for it. Had no reason else other than saying, you know what, y'all stuck at home. What I want to do is I want to give you guys a little bit of joy, bring to you guys a little bit of that, passion or that things that we love to do. And once again, it wasn't just me. I was bringing in all my friends that I knew had a passion for this and needed to share their entertainment to everybody. And that's how we started it. So I did that for a little while, and then I realized, you know what? People might book this. So we started offering it as paid options for different clientele and bringing experiences that were one-on-one. And then we grew from that. We started offering events across the country and then across the nation, across the world. I did the Bank of Singapore at one point in time where I did their staff event. So I was up in the middle of the night performing from the U.S., but they were coming in. I developed a whole slew of game shows that I still do to today. I still do different game show experiences on virtual almost, I don't know, every week, every other week for different clients. Mm-hmm. So that's stuff that how we evolved as a company. And honestly, the pandemic was the driver of us going nationwide, truly going nationwide as a company. We always did things. We're always willing to do things. But when we had clients around the country who were utilizing our services, and I had performers that I knew personally who had traveled, because once the pandemic hit, everybody kind of left New York City and they moved to, the Carolinas, and they moved to the West Coast. They moved to the center of the country to find cheaper, just get more space, all the other things. The reason why everybody moved away. Performers did the same thing. So it was a huge change in the business, but it was also back to what we talked about, an opportunity. I knew these people. I've worked with these people for years. Why not just say yes to opportunities that are there and provide them to performers that I knew were fantastic here in New York? They're still fantastic. They're just not here in New York. Yeah. So now there's the opportunity. So now I have clients that are interested, and I have performers that I know are great, and I connect the two, and that's how the business went nationwide.
Yeah, and so you said like you were always you'd always had a little bit of a national footprint, and then COVID kind of like caused you to blow up in the Bank of Singapore. Means that not only just national, but that's global, right? Because yes. I'm gonna go ahead and call that not just international. We'll call it global because it's a long way away. It's far enough that I can get away with this. What specifically did you do? Like what extra steps or what how did you again take advantage of the opportunity? Because I mean I know how how to build a brand. I've built several of them. So I'm always curious to hear like what it looked like from your point of view.
It's never giving up. If you believe in what you're doing and you believe that what you're doing has value, not even just has value, but you can actually speak to the value that you bring. I think that's the biggest thing. So I really did believe in what we had and what our purpose was, and our purpose isn't just bringing in X entertainment, Y entertainment. That's not our purpose. I tell my team this all the time. Our purpose is truly delivering an experience to a client and making people happy. I'm married now, but when I was in the dating world, I used to say to people, I own a smile factory is what I do for a living. We manufacture smiles. Not I own an entertainment company. Not that I'm a magician or I'm a DJ. No, like what we do is deliver happiness. We bring happiness to people. So that was always my driving force, and I continued pushing forward with that throughout the pandemic, throughout these challenging times when the world shut down. I still had that passion, and I knew there was a need for that. Since there's a need and something I could do, there's really just figuring out how to connect one to the other and figuring out the opportunity on that front. So that was really where I saw it.
Yeah, and it goes without saying, during the time when you were building out your global brand, you needed that smile factor.
Yes. It was definitely a challenging time.
Oh, no doubt. And so I guess I'm curious too. So then, you repackaged everything, and it's sort of, if I'm not missing something, or if I'm not misreading you, a lot of this is about being adaptable, right? It's not just like recognizing opportunities, about being adaptable. I guess like that, I'm curious, like, how do you continue to keep that mindset? Like, because you're leading a group of people that are all over the world, I'm guessing at this point, and you're helping them see opportunities where they might not have had the chance to take advantage of them before through the platform you've built. How has your leadership changed and grown over the years? Like, how do you keep, how do you keep your business fresh? How do you keep people enthusiastic about things? I mean, I always looked at it, especially when I was involved in events and stuff day to day. It was like a renewable resource, because every time I was meeting somebody, it might be the first time that they were going to ever see something, like, see a game, see a concert, see a show. Every time they were going to come through the doors at one of the venues I was at, it was going to be a once in a lifetime experience, because it was never going to be that same group of people in the same place at the same time doing the same thing ever again. And that to me was the way I approached it. But so I'm curious about how you do it.
It's a very good question, and there's so many.
I try. You get one good question an episode. That's it. It's all over now. Yeah, forget it. I'm out.
I think that's a very good question, because there's just so many answers to it. And I'll start with, I guess, kind of the starting of how I started in this business is as a magician. That's how I really got started in doing what I do. And people ask, how do you, I mean, it's an ongoing thing that we discuss in the entertainment community, is as a performer, how do you keep fresh? How do you deliver every single time? And I don't see performing as what I'm doing. It's just a medium in which I'm connecting with people. So when I do a magic show, if I do a kids event, I can perform the same trick. I've been performing the same tricks for, I don't know, thousands of shows at this point. And that doesn't matter. It's not about the actual trick that I'm doing. It's about the connection I'm making with the kids, and their energy it allows it to stay fresh every single time. Because it's always different. It's always that different energy is always the audience is always different. Their mood, their feelings are always different, and that idea translates to the rest of this. Is that I say it all the time. I love what I do because of the opportunities I have to interact with people who are passionate about what they do. So the passions they have energize me. And this goes back, we talked about this a minute ago, is saying, I love connecting people with their passions, clients with their passions. So that right there is a thing that allows me to stay fresh, is I get to talk to, especially as we break into new industries, but as well as new markets, and we start doing new performers and different people I talk to almost every single performer we work with. That's the big thing for me, is that ensuring that we deliver somebody that's going to deliver an amazing product. So I personally deal with every single one of them to ensure that they have what I want them to deliver, and it's really, really important to me. But those conversations that I'm allowed to that I have with those people give me the opportunity to really feel their passion for what they do. And I always have this kind of like a podcast. I wish I should turn it into a podcast of interviewing different performers, because it's so uplifting and invigorating, and allows me to really feel that and push me into this next thing and doing this next event and wanting to get the word about what they do and all these other things. So that's, I think, huge. And then honestly, on the client end of it, we have the same thing. There are clients that are putting together life moments, things that they will, as you said, things they'll never experience again, opportunities they'll never have to go for again, and we're a pivotal part of that moment. So it's that passion, that feeling that they come in there like, I'm entrusting you to make this amazing, and I feel that as well, and I want to keep that going. So I take all these feelings and I share them with my team to say, hey guys, we're blessed. We are truly blessed to be a part of people's most important magical, going back to the magical thing, magical moments that they'll ever have. They're creating these magical memories that they'll never have again. And we are truly, truly blessed to have the opportunity to bring that to them. So I think that's, for me, what keeps things fresh, is that it's always, even though can be the same, it's not, it never is. We can deliver a magician for a birthday party. We could deliver a DJ for a wedding, a photographer for a corporate event. Whatever the service is to whatever the event is, even though it's the same service to the same event, that event is never the same. That experience is never the same. So the whole thing is always different, always changing, always evolving, and we're always learning. We're always growing. So the more you know, the more you grow, the more you learn, the better you get at what you do. And it also just changes and evolves that experience. So going all the way back to what we were talking about originally, saying opportunity, being open to the opportunity to learn and grow and evolve, I think is huge also. And I'm a lifelong learner. I sit there and watch YouTube videos and learn all day. So I'm a lifelong learner and love to learn. So I think that's a big part of it as well.
Yeah, the lifelong learner thing is, I grew up in a family where it was like, if you got an education, they know they could take it away from you. And all I ever learned was that the journey is never over. And like, it's always, that I'm always learning something new. And to the point about like all these events being unique and different and expanding in these new areas, I never understood the people who became jaded about these things, because I'm like, it's just like such a wonderful service that you provide. It's such a wonderful thing to be able to bring people joy and entertainment and excitement. And it's very cool what you guys are doing. So Stephen, where can people find you on the internet?
So our general website is mme123.com. So it's www.mme123.com. I like to say it's easy as 123 with MME. So that's a good way to remember it. And then Magical Memories Entertainment across every other platform. So you can find us on Facebook, on Instagram. So you can see about some of the experiences we do. It's really just a showcase of all the fun things we've experienced. So if you're looking for ideas, if you're looking for different kinds of inspiration, whether you're a performer, whether you're an event creator, I invite you to come take a look at it, and we would love the opportunity to help anybody out.
Awesome. Well, thank you for doing this.
Thank you.
Okay, let me know what you thought of my conversation with Stephen by sending me an email. It is my name, Dave, at davewakeman.com. Remember, I get them all. I read them all. I'm happy to hear what you liked, what you didn't like, all that deal. Do me a solid. And if you found something here you liked, which 39 minutes into this thing, you must have, do me a favor and share it with a colleague or a friend that you think would benefit from this conversation, or any other one that you might find. I mean, there's tons of them. And that would do me a great favor because it expands my audience and it helps me keep growing the podcast. You can also rate it and review it on all or any and all, not just all, but any and all of your favorite podcast platforms. We are almost everywhere. It's an amazing thing. We get listeners all over the place, so thank you. But rate it and review it because, again, it helps me continue to get really great guests, to deliver really great conversations, and to do stuff just like this conversation. So that helps me a lot. Visit my website, it's Dave, not DaveWakeman.com. That's my email address. It's DaveWakeman.com. You can find my the Dropbox little pop-up window for the newsletters, talking tickets, and the business of fun, or the business of value. This is the business of fun. I am like stuttering. See, the new year, I'm going to leave these in there. That way you can see how the sausage is made a little bit. But you can get the newsletters. You can also find my blog, because there's sometimes stuff I put there that isn't in the newsletters or isn't somewhere else. So you can find all kinds of cool stuff there. Check out the website. I'll keep updating it. I'll keep adding things to it. It's going to be great. Make sure I put a link in the show notes for the Talking Tickets Slack channel. So check it out. 350 or so, 400 people in tickets from around the world. We're there. We talk some smack. We had a really good conversation going the other day about bourbon sales and the secondary market for bourbon. All right. So, you learn a little something new every day. We've had all kinds of crazy stuff. And I'm working on trying to make it like a little bit more valuable, to continue to make it robust, or even more robust, I should say, because I'm curious about community building, and I figure the people who listen to the podcast, read the newsletter, get all these things, you deserve it. So screw it. Let's do it, right? So check that link out in the show notes. Like I mentioned at the start, I am going to Indianapolis in April. I'm confirming everything now, but mark make a note. April in Indianapolis. It should be great. But if you're interested in having me come to your town or your organization, send me a note, Dave@DaveWakeman.com. See what we can do. This is how this Indianapolis thing started out. An old friend of mine, former podcast, I've been on his podcast. I think he's been on ours. John Robbins, he emailed me, he said, "Wow, why don't you come do something in Indianapolis?" And I said, "Well, if we can get 12 people together, I'll come do it." And so that's where we started. And so that's how that's coming together. So we can do the same thing in your town or in your organization. Just send me a note, Dave@DaveWakeman.com. Finally, before I go, the start of the year, or at least the podcasting year, since it's the 21st when this is going out, means just, send me a note. Tell me your thoughts, concerns, questions you want to have answered, ideas you want to explore more, challenges you're dealing with in your organizations. I want to know how I can better serve you, or if you just need a sounding board for something, hit me up. It's Dave@DaveWakeman.com. I have been saying you don't have to go through this alone since the start of the pandemic, and I don't care that the pandemic the emergency of the pandemic has passed. I still don't want you to go through this alone. So hit me up, say hello, even whatever you'd like to do. And until next time, I thank you for being here, and I will talk to you again soon.